Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. I hope that you are doing amazing. Today's video is going to be an exciting one. I'm sure you've seen these videos floating all over the place on YouTube, but we have got our hands on the new Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. So we are going to be dissecting it, reviewing it. I'm going to be trying each and every eyeshadow on my warm medium skin. We'll talk about it, and towards the end I have a few palettes that I want to compare and put side by side so that you can see if it's a palette that you truly need. But let me just say, it looks gorgeous so far. So if you would like to learn all there is to know about the Natasha I Need a Nude palette, see it on my golden skin, as well as see other comparisons, well then you know what to do. Just keep on watching. Part one is just giving you the overview on the palette. This is what it looks like, and it has this really beautiful acrylic top, super sleek and beautiful. But let me just show you the inside, because I know that that's, oh my goodness, I'm trying to make sure that you guys get the true color so that the lights don't blow it out. Let me just give you a bit of information on it. So this is advertised as a cool toned color story, but honestly, looking at it, I definitely see the cool tones, but I see a bit of the warm tones as well. It's a total of 15 shades. We have 7 mattes, and then we have 8 shimmers. There's 2 new shades that are a new formula. It is a wet effect sparkling and gloss finish. That sounds nice and fancy and definitely up my alley. All eyeshadows were made in Italy. They are paraben and cruelty free. And this palette retails for $69. Make sure you stay till the end, because I will be sharing a discount code to get 15% off. So we love to save money when you purchase directly on the Natasha Denona website. You can buy this palette on Sephora, Ulta, and on the Natasha Denona website. I know it sold out in Sephora as soon as it came out. This has been going viral literally everywhere. It's funny because everyone says that we don't need another neutral or cool tone palette, yet here we are, everyone purchasing it, because honestly, they're just the most used palettes. So now that we have all of the information, we are going to move over to swatches. So it's going to be 2 parts to the swatches. I'm going to swatch all of them on my arm just so that we can see what they look like. But I also want to apply each of them on the eye. Here we have all of these shades swatched, and oh my goodness, these shimmers are so good. Here we have Stone, Whisper, Ella, Vague, Travertine, Delilah, Silhouette, Muse, Fair, Filigree, Wit, which by the way, I put this on as blush. You'll see it later on in the video, mixed with Vague. So beautiful on the skin. We then have Sheen, Tender, Mesh, and Mia. So swatched on my skin, we definitely have some cool tones. We have a bit of those like taupe colors, but we also have some nice warm taupey pinks. So really excited to see how these are going to look on the eye. Now we're moving to the exciting part where I'll be putting one color on each eyeball. We have 15 shades, so say a prayer for my eyelids, but I want to see how these shades work individually on the eye. But I also just quickly want to know, complete side note, but I used the Natasha Denona concealer for the first time ever today for this video, and I am so impressed. I've heard so many good things about it, so I literally went in store and had to pick it up, and I just used it for the first time to prep for this video. And I have thoughts. So if you would like to see me try it, talk about it, and even compare it to other concealers, I'm waiting to get my hands on the House Labs one. So let me know if you would be interested in a side-by-side, but we might be onto something with this one. We're gonna move right on into the palette, and I'm gonna just start going across the board just like this. So the first 2 that we'll swatch is Stone and Whisper. So I'll show you one on each side. And to make it even crazier and wilder, I'm gonna be applying mascara every time because I want the full look. I don't think I can see the full look without mascara, so there is a new one that I want to try anyway, so let's jump right into it. For the first two swatches, I'll show you how I apply it because the Natasha Denona formula is just so good, and it's one of the few rare formulas that you can actually just like go in with your finger and just pat it along the eye, especially mattes. Like this is a matte shade and they blend so well. So what I love to do when I use a single eyeshadow like this is just place it directly on where the actual like eyeball is. So I'm just feeling that out with the finger and making sure that we're getting good coverage. This is the color. And then what I would do with just like a clean blending brush is get the edges, and we have a beautiful monochromatic look. So I'm going to do that with the color Stone and Whisper and then show you guys what it looks like. I'm also just taking a blending brush, tapping into the color just to make sure that everything is nice and blended, and kind of just like brushing it out so that it looks nice and seamless. But so far I'm really enjoying it. This is one of the more like taupey colors, so this is what it looks like on. On the other side we have Whisper, which is like an icy champagne color. So I'm doing the same exact thing, just taking that blending brush and really just like blending out those edges just to make sure that it's seamless. We're not going anywhere with these looks, but I want to give you the overall vision of how I would actually wear them. The mascara that I used is the new Maybelline Falsies Surreal, and this is what both of these shades look like. I really love this one as well as this one, so I can already see that I'll be using a lot of these shades just like one and done. They are such versatile and neutral colors that are so easy to just be able to wear. So whenever you struggle with an eyeshadow palette and you don't know what to do, just take one eyeshadow, put it over the lid, some mascara, and you have a look. so there we swatched all 15 eyeshadows on the eye, and wow, I love this palette more than I think I would love it. Each color looked so pretty. Now overall, just reviews, I would definitely want to say my favorite shades are for sure the shimmers, but in specific, I love the color Delilah, Sheen, and Mia. It's that wet formula that they talked about being new, and also it reminds me of the Natasha chrome pots. If you know, you know, those were so good. They no longer sell them anymore, but it's just a finely milled glitter that looks wet on the eyes, and I love that. Now there's definitely lots of fallout when it comes to the shimmer, specifically the shade Muse, so definitely do your base makeup after your eyes to avoid, you know, fallout. But I put all 15 eyeshadows on and the base is still looking pretty good. Now, I did have some trouble with Silhouette, which is the deepest color on here, but I did try and go in with my finger first and then with a brush, so that one did just take a little bit of loving and caring, but after a while it looked really pretty. And then I would say Tender was like the second most difficult to work with, but every other color, literally with just a swipe and like just patting it on with the fingers, even the mattes just went so beautifully on the lid. So overall, super impressed with it. I love it a ton, and I know that I'll be getting a lot of use out of it. Right now, we went with the last color Filigree and just put that all over the lid for a beautiful like shimmery bronzer, but I wanted to take it up a notch, and so I put Delilah over top. And I wish you guys can see this in person. Like, it literally looks wet. This is such a festive, beautiful look, but even just something that you can put on an everyday eyeshadow look to just take it up a notch. So really impressed, loved that. Now moving on to the final part of this video, I went through my eyeshadow collection and just picked out palettes that I felt were similar or had similar formulas or color stories. So we'll quickly go through that. The first one that I have on here is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal palette. Now this one specifically I picked for the color story, but more so for the shimmer shades. I feel like the shimmers in the Ethereal palette are very similar to the formula of the Natasha Denona, the wet looking glitter particles. So if you got your hands on this one, there are some colors that this one has that the Makeup by Mario doesn't, but I would definitely say they're very similar. Next up, I pulled out these palettes, which I haven't used in a while, but these are the Sigma 9 Pen eyeshadow palettes, and I picked up the rosy one as well as the hazy. Now, these are a bit more colorful, I would say, than the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette, but some of these shimmers and a lot of their mattes look very similar to the Natasha Denona, but similar color stories and just like muted mauves, kind of just pulling a little bit more towards that. This one has a bit more neutral, less pink colors, and this one has a lot more vibrant pink ones, but overall, you can kind of get some similar pink looks with these. We also have some ColourPop palettes. Now, I immediately thought of the Going Coconuts and the That's Taupe palette because the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude kind of leans a lot towards that one. Oh, no, I just dug my nail in the eyeshadow, good Lord. Okay, well this one is That's Taupe, so very taupey, silvery, muted. And then here we have Going Coconuts. Very similar color stories, as you can see. I would just say that this one pulls a bit more pink shades than the other ones do, but I do want to note that I would 150% always prefer the Natasha Denona formula over the ColourPop. The other ColourPop palettes that I immediately also thought of to compare next to the I Need a Nude is their larger palettes, and here we have the Bare Necessities. This one is a cool toned, I think this is like 42 shadows, and I would definitely say you can find a lot of what is in here, but once again, the Natasha Denona formula is just next level, but I do think that you can achieve a lot of similar looks with this palette. The other palette that I have from ColourPop that I would also love to talk about and kind of just put side by side is the Stone Cold. Now this one is definitely a true cool toned palette, leans a lot into the grays, but it also has a lot of those mauve colors. So once again, putting it side by side, you see a lot of colors that are similar, but this one has a bit more of those pinky mauves. So if that's what you want, then this palette would definitely be worth it. Moving on to another brand, here we have Cara Beauty, and I have this Hello Honey palette, and this one is definitely a bit more on the warm side, but it does have those really pretty pinks that I see the I Need a Nude has. So just wanted to hold them side by side. This one definitely leans a lot more cool tones next to this one, but I do also feel like they have a lot of similar colors to be able to achieve similar looks. You know, I had to throw a Beauty Bay palette in there, and when I looked at all of mine, I felt like this is the one that would be the most similar to it, and that is the Neutral palette. Once again, color story is cool mauves, pinks. Now this one definitely is a lot more richer in color than the Natasha Denona. As you can see them side by side, this one is a bit more muted, but I feel like you literally can get a ton of the colors that are in this palette in this one, and dare I say the Beauty Bay formula, specifically their mattes, are very comparable to the Natasha Denona. Now their shimmers are really, really pretty and good as well, but the Natasha Denona formula, especially these new wet ones, are top tier. I feel like there's nothing else in my collection that can compare to that besides the Pat McGrath shimmers that she has in her actual palettes and some of those Makeup by Mario shimmer toppers. Lastly, we have two palettes from Huda Beauty, and this one was the first palette that I thought of once I saw this color story. That is the new Nude Huda palette, and this one has a super pink and mauve color tone. Definitely, once again, holding it up against this one, way more richer in color, leans a lot more like mauve and pink and things like that. But when I think of the color stories and the families, they kind of look similar, but honestly, now that I'm like looking at them side by side, I'm like, I don't think they're that similar. Some of the other palettes kind of lean a little more closer to this one, but I thought I would take this one out because I haven't really used it much, but I do see a lot of the matte shades in this one that can match this one. So the last palette that I have is the Rose Quartz from Huda Beauty, and this one is just more so for the muted tones. Once again, holding them side by side, I do see colors that look very similar, but then also colors that are completely like different. Like this one has a lot of purples, lilacs, and blues, but it also has that like muted cool tone color story that the Natasha Denona can also achieve. Alrighty guys, well that concludes this video. That concludes the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette try on, review, swatches, comparison, all of that good stuff. Let me know down below if this is a palette that you already got your hands on, because I know a lot of people did. If it's something you would like to get your hands on, and if there's any other palette that you would like for me to be able to review in this same format. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.